So what's up, YouTube? We're going to be talking about Cakewalk. Cakewalk is basically a subsidiary um, of the Gibson brand Incorporated, and I just now noticed that they're basically going out of business, or Gibson's pulling the plug on this digital workstation, digital audio workstation. And it's really kind of disappointing and saddening at the same time because I'm trying to switch over from Mac to PC and find really good audio substitutes for Logic because I'm a big Logic user. But it looks like I'm probably going to have to buy some Macs because I was learning how to use Cakewalk and then Samplitude X3. I bought the X1 on eBay, and I used that for a while. And then I got an X3. Um, had some issues with the X3, but it seems that Logic is just so good. And Cakewalk was kind of my second go-to digital audio workstation. But it's really sad to see them go. Do I think they're going to be gone for good? That really depends on Gibson. I believe that they're going to. I think Gibson's going through a lot of heartache. If we go to the Gibson website, they didn't even show up for NAMM 2018. So we look at Gibson guitars. Now, oops, wrong Gibson. I mean, Gibson has some good guitars. I personally don't own a Rural Gibson. Um, I kind of want to get into because I really like Kramer guitars. I own two Kramer guitars. I have several Ibanez, but it just seems like I can't play an Ibanez anymore because the frets are just too big. I like something with a medium fret, a lot thinner profile, a little bit thicker profile. I mean, it just seems like it gets more tone that way, and I do hear the tone on the resonance of the pickup into the body and so forth in the neck. Um, I do hear that, and it sounds a lot more chunkier, um, a lot more, there's just something there. I can't really name it, but I go from an ESP with EMGs. I can really hear it. I have several guitars around here, ranging from BC Rich to Kramer's to Ibanez, PVs, Dean's. Um, just looking around here, just a bunch of other guitars. But I just fell in love with the Kramer Beretta 1984. It just seems like a really amazing guitar. Now, do I think Cakewalk is going to be coming back? It's a strong possibility. I think I think they closed that down because they might be like doing what Carvin's doing and going to be resizing and coming out with a better product, but they can't keep everybody on staff to continually upgrade. That's what I think is happening. Because America is doing a lot better, the income is starting to go up higher, hyperinflation is starting to kick in, and it just doesn't seem like a logical move for Gibson to keep out of the market like that, especially with hyperinflation starting to kick in. And it is kicking in because you look at the stock market, and the stock market's jumped like 6,000 points within a year. So it's almost a quarter of what it was, and that is hyperinflation. Um, and for them to be out of a market where money, you know, their their market share is rising, and they're not having enough to sell, um, is really going to be a problem. But just as well as hyperinflation kicks in, eventually at one point something's going to have to stop it because it outpaces the hourly wages. Um, but that's another video for another subject. But I think they will be coming back out with it. I didn't read the letter or anything, but I think it just would be a smart move for Gibson. Um, but Gibson is having a lot of trouble with guitars, specifically from AliExpress. And we go to DH Gate, and these counterfeit guitars. We go to guitars, LP, and you know, people can buy these counterfeit guitars at a much lower price and think they have a real Gibson. And you know, where a guitar costs $200, as though a real Gibson costs probably for the same model $1,500. It's real hard for Gibson to compete with these Chinese imports. But the Chinese imports are getting so good that they're catching on. They actually, I might have to go to AliExpress. We look up guitar relics. And I keep an eye on this stuff because I bought a Gibson guitar. I didn't really know what it was what I basically mean. If it was, I didn't really know where it was made, and until I bought one and I did some research and I found out they were supposed to be made in the United States, and you know, and so forth. So I got ripped off a little bit. But just learning as I go. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to destroy that particular guitar. I don't know what really to do with it. So it's probably going to be destroyed. But they're starting to get better as we look at some of the guitars that they have here. And this is what's really hurting Gibson right now. Let's see if we can get a bridge shot. And you see the bridge, that's a Nashville type bridge, I believe. And Gibson is having, you know, the older ones, the older counterfeits used to have the big hole like the Epiphones would, and the Asian imports would have. But you know, this is starting to look like a really good price. You know, $365 for this guitar in a case. And we go down here and we try to find one that we go and we look at a few of them. I mean, they look like they're really getting everything down pat, and that's kind of real scary for an American-made guitar. Now I see they have some without headstocks, without logos, and you know, that'd be okay, I guess, if they would just cut that off, make that straight, so it wouldn't infringe on Gibson, and maybe change the body style up a little bit so it wouldn't be a actual copyright thing. But they just go for the straight copyright, and you know, that hurts the brand a lot, because when you go to buy one of these used guitars, how do you know you're buying a counterfeit? And that's really a problem Gibson is facing, because there's a lot of counterfeit guitars out there, and you know, they look cool, they probably play okay, but they're not the real brand. And Gibson is hurting because a lot of people are importing this instead of saving up and buying an American-made product. But it's just sad to see Gibson in the financial shape they are. Now Gibson does have some. We go to Google. If we go to Google and we type in, let's go to reverb. We type in Gibson guitar. I got the cap locks on because I'm typing with one hand here. And we go to the cheapest ones. Now, they do have some models. Oh, I've clicked the wrong one. and we just look for electric guitars. We look for Gibson. I mean, you can see there's one for 350 Gibson. Oh, that maybe that was a case. I mean, some of them's pretty reasonable. Let's get rid of some of the Evophone. The Gibson Firebird Zero 450. I've seen them at 300, and you can even build your own guitar with from Stratosphere, which is this place right here. But that's where Gibson is really hurting. Is they're hurting because a lot of these counterfeits is coming in. I would recommend not buying one of them, but trying to go with a real Gibson, even though people say it sucks. Um, say the cheaper models like we look here at the Gibson S Fusion SG or Fusion here. Even though some of the cheaper ones, people complain about the quality. I mean, you're still buying an American-made product because it says right there on the headstock. So I guess, I will go down that road, a cheaper one, and then saving up for later, and trying to stay away from the AliExpresses and the DH Gates and so forth, and try to buy the real authentic guitars. And that's basically it for this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps out the channel a great deal.